Arcade Heroes.
Greetings, it's Adam with ArcadeHeroes.com, and going to be doing some tech work today, as I had ordered the Unico 26-inch 4x3 LCD, which was designed to go into old arcade cabinets, and it arrived. I did open the front here because on the label it didn't mention Unico. I guess this did, but I wasn't paying attention, so I opened it up, started to pull it out, and then that's where I saw Unico mentioned, and it's like, oh, okay, it's this, it's the monitor, but I don't know why I keep, this is the second shipment that I've had of something arcade related recently where I wasn't alerted at all that it was on its way. In fact, I got an email yesterday on Sunday, like this arrived on Friday, and I got an email on Sunday saying, your monitor is on its way. It's like, well, it's already here. But let's open it up. So as it mentions, 26-inch arcade CRT replacement LCD monitor. Nicely packaged. And so this would be what's called an open frame. And just showing the flat panel 4x3 ratio. Designed for excellent performance and value for amusement and classic arcade use. This LCD will accept CGA, EGA, HDMI, or VGA inputs, built with quality and reliability in mind from Unico. And oh, it does have a power for SNK. Very interesting. As when I ordered this, I was originally thinking about putting it in my Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. The problem with this CRT here is that one of the electron guns is out, the green, and so for years now it's been blue and red, and I've been meaning to do it. I didn't really want to do just what I've done with Marvel vs. Capcom and just throw a 16:9 LCD in there, and so I'd been considering some options out there. It's just everything had been available overseas and it was pretty pricey to get a hold of them. This one, I do think it was $300-400. I mean, it's still a little bit pricey compared to like a monitor you could go buy at Walmart or Best Buy or something like that. But again, it's open frame, so they look much nicer and it'll fit in there. Obviously, it won't have the curve and the pixels will be sharper and everything, but in a business, I've found that people don't really seem to care. The games earn just the same. Yes, once in a while I will overhear somebody saying, oh, it's an LCD, that sucks. And I get it, they didn't seem really interested in playing anyways. But as I was saying, I was considering replacing my Super Street Fighter 2 CRT, but then I think a day or two after I had ordered it, the tube on my Neo Geo MVS here went out, and I ordered a flyback and a cap kit for it, installed all that stuff, and it still doesn't work. And so, I mean, I probably should send it in, but this is not the only game that's gone down, and I kind of need something. Well, I need to have all my games up and running, as many as I can. Like one of my Cruise and Blast monitors out, one of my Nirins is out. And it's just like I need to get something working, and so Street Fighter 2 probably will wait. Although what I'm going to do is make sure that this fits. I'm not 100% sure if this monitor or this LCD that I got will fit, and I'll also check the inputs first before yanking this tube out and throwing the new one in. So we'll go to that point. I'm going to pull this out. It's packaged in two. Need to double check the connector. I don't know if what's there will connect properly. It does not look like it. So I'm going to have to do some modifications. So here's your inputs. I don't know why. Like usually with these converter boards and stuff that you can find on eBay, they're always obsessed with this style. But I've never come across this. Not that I can recall. Let me show you what most of the arcade machines out there seem to have. So here's the connector out of the MVS that I have, and like I said, most of the arcade games that I have this kind of connector, which I think is, what is that, a 10 pin? I mean, it doesn't use all the pins and everything, but I just don't know why pretty much all converter boards never seem to fit this style, when I have owned a bunch of JAMA cabinets over the years. Like all of these ones that I've had from various different manufacturers always have that style of connector. Maybe it'll be broken in half sometimes because there are some empty pins on there, but for some reason this always shows up, and it's again, I've never seen that one, but I can make it work. I just wish it was really plug and play in that regard. So let's see what I can do to figure that out. So this guy's a little heavier than I thought it might be. Oh yeah, that should work out just fine. I mean, that's not the proper way to measure something, but it works for me. So yeah, let's get this oldie moldy tube out of here. So first thing I had to do was go into the back and unplug the connections from the monitor. Obviously, I do not want those hanging on. There's always latches underneath the old school control panels, so just have to remove those. This particular one has two of them. I only had one connected because I've been going in and out of here lately. The glass, it's tinted. And let's remove some of this wood. Broken again. Alright, and it's a little bit hard to see because my lighting is terrible here. Definitely not studio quality, but let me... So what I've got to do here with this particular monitor is it has these screws. They're just Phillips screws holding in the three points on the top and the bottom, and so I'll just pull those out, and then time to yank the monitor out, which is always the fun part because of how heavy this thing is. I think it's somewhere around 60 pounds, so you don't want to damage your control panel when you're doing that. So I'll grab some bubble wrap and padding. I just like to do that just in case. And so grab some of that and pull this sucker out. Of course, this will be too dark to see. Get my unprofessional padding here. I'm also going to grab a hand truck to put this on, or rather a dolly. That'll work better. Oh. Wood on the sides, I hadn't noticed in the darkness. These here are held in with some screws. So let's pull those out first. I would, if this works out, then I would like to get LCDs, like my Mortal Kombat 3 that's sitting right next to it. I've just thrown an LCD in there. It's been there for a long time, but I've never really liked how that looks. I mean, I do care about how it looks, and so I'm sure it would make a couple bucks more a week if it was something more proper like this. I'm doing here, and along with my Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I've had an LCD in that one, and as I mentioned in an older video, I do everything I can to keep these old CRTs running, but it gets to a point where, like with this one, I've done the parts. I mean, yeah, there's probably more I could do. There's more I should study on fixing CRTs, but really I would just have to send this off to somebody else. And it's not cheap. A lot of the CRT monitor repair work these days costs, around $200 to fix. And then there's been times where it didn't work for super long. Like my tubing crapped out on me like a month after, or a couple of months after I sent it in. That was pretty frustrating. That's good on the old back. Old tube is out. So now, let's get the new one in there. So I'm going to have to do some wood cutting and modifications here because I just checked first, putting the LCD up here, and it doesn't fit as far as it's a little bit too small. The sides, I'm sure you can't really see much here, but right here there's just a little bit of empty space. Now of course the old CRT did fill that up pretty well, but what I'm gonna have to do, and I'm pretty sure I've got the wood for this, but I'll measure and cut some pieces, like 2x4s, or I think I have 2x2s that I could cut and install on each side, and that should do the trick for what I need. And so I'll do that, and then once that's in place, then we'll continue on. Okay, so it's been a few days, but went to the hardware store, got these brackets. It took a combination of measuring and testing and re-drilling a bunch of times to figure out the correct configuration. And just like first I tried these smaller brackets on this tan wood, and that didn't work. It didn't fit. Then I tried these brackets on the side. Fortunately, I bought two different types of bracket. Let's see if I can show you what's working for me. Yeah, 4-count corner braces, 1 inch. And that's what seems to have worked here. Do need to put in more because then I should have all the holes filled up, but just wanted to show progress on that at the moment. And finally got it to a point where it's working. It's just I still have to be careful about the measurements because I obviously not an experienced woodworker, as I keep making these little mistakes. I have to screw something in, try it out, see if it lines up, and then it doesn't when I thought it should, and then I have to yank it out and try again. But yeah, get it mounted, or finish this up and get it mounted and go to that point. Okay, finally it's in, mounted and secure and everything, bolted in. So I got some bolts to put through there, but overall I think it was about 3 hours worth of work getting the CRT out and trying to figure it out the other day, and about 3 hours so far here. But I still need to wire in the video connection. It's just starting to get a little busy here at the arcade, so I can't do that right now. But I'll put the glass back on, or actually let's film taking off this cellophane. I guess the only thing that I'm a little worried about is if it's upside down, because it does not indicate what's right side up on this. Satisfying, but I am assuming that it's right side up, just given how the video connectors are on the back, and so just I'll cross my fingers that it won't force me to yank it out and do that, unless I could just flip the screen image using the wiring, but I don't know about that. But anyways, almost there. Okay, this is gonna be a little bit hard to see, and since it's so cramped, I'm not gonna film myself doing this, but I've taken the connector for the video and snipped those ends and stripped them, and so I'm going to solder those to the video board here, as there are spaces to do that since I don't have a connector that would work for that particular one. And again, I'm gonna not film myself doing that because it's kind of cramped and I need to, I'll be all in the way anyways, but that's what I'm going to do next. The only thing we got to do, it did its own auto adjustment, but what I'm doing right now is got to go in and adjust the brightness because it's way too bright. Does it by multiples of 10, I guess. I need it to come back. Contrast doesn't do multiples of 10. Wow, that's slowest brightness. Washed out. Looks maybe a little too bright. Somewhere in the middle there. That'll work for now. Now I'm going to put in some other Neo Geo games and see how they look. It's installed. Well, looks like I need to reseat Super Sidekicks there. But yeah, it works. And I have some tinted glass, so that kind of helps a little bit with the brightness. I'll be fiddling around with the controls a little bit more. Oh, looks like I need to reseat 2 games. It's King of Fighters, that's what this is supposed to be, and it's not showing it right. But let's go to something else there. But I will also be getting something to kind of cover up the edges so that you can't see those. I guess you can't really see it on the camera. But overall, I like it. Just it was frustrating to mount it. Would have been nice to have some sort of measured guidelines. I mean, I was able to measure it manually and everything, but just figuring that out was a pain in the butt. But now that I know what I'm kind of doing there, and the width on these is generally kind of similar, I'll be able to hopefully do it better next time. I want to do it for a Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo here, as mentioned, just because, as you can see, there's almost no green in this. It's very washed out, and it's the tube, not the video board. But probably wouldn't be a bad idea for me to do it on Mortal Kombat and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 at some point as well. But yeah, that's the Unico Phoenix LCD. What do you think? You got one? Did you have any troubles? Or, I mean, yeah, if you're into woodworking and you know that stuff, handy with that, then you're gonna do better than I did. But yeah, it's nice to have this up and running, and so we'll go from there. We'll see you on the next video. So I've got a little addendum to add here, as you can see on the site retrorgb.com. There's been a bit of, as this states, a debacle going on with this monitor, and it's due to what the specs were when Unico posted them and what they were showing on their website when they were taking orders, taking money, were not the same as what people got. And so mainly it was in like this resolution was not correct. I think it mentions here as well that the aspect ratio is 5:4 instead of 4:3. Also, in that little manual I showed earlier in the video, the specs there were different than what they had initially stated. And even these, I guess, from what this is saying, is not quite correct. One disappointing thing would be the response time. Being like originally they said 1 millisecond to 1.5, and here it says 6, which just means slower. And there's also been issues in running emulators like MAME, running this monitor with Windows and such. And so apparently some of it has to do with the hardware that was thrown in here, coming from like a 32-inch 1366 by 768 HD TV. And so this is how it's looking on some people's setups. Now, of course, as you just saw from what I did, I'm not using it in any sort of emulation setup. I'm running it inside of an original arcade machine with that direct video signal coming from the arcade hardware, and that is what it was intended for. And so that's where I don't have those sorts of issues. The main issue, as I showed there near the end, was how the brightness and the contrast on certain games is kind of off. I've still had to do some tweaking on that to get it right, and I've heard at least from one other person who got some of these monitors that they experienced the same kind of issue, but it depends on the game. And so I guess, to be fair, that is something that I've encountered before with those boards that you find on eBay, those conversion boards, JAMA to VGA or JAMA to HDMI boards on eBay as well. And so I think you have to adjust the clamp settings to a certain level, and the contrast and the brightness and all that. It's just kind of a pain that the auto adjust doesn't do it. But overall, the disappointing thing is that these guys, I mean, I commend them for creating a monitor that's intended to go into arcade machines, but you shouldn't be posting the wrong information, the wrong specs, as that just feels like false advertising. And now this blogger here, Todd Gill, is stating that he's working with Unico to fix these issues. I don't know if he's like an electrical engineer or something, and he does mention in the blog post that looking at a firmware update to possibly fix that as well. I mean, again, for me, I'm not going to be telling people, hey, you shouldn't buy one of these. I mean, granted, Unico does need to fess up to not posting the correct specs, and they should have been upfront with those from the get-go. If something changed on it when they received them, they should have told everybody about that as well. But it's been working. It's been allowing me to use my Neo Geo again, and I'm not interested at all in running a MAME emulator on these things. That's just not what I do. But I understand that a lot of people who have bought these, that's what they've been doing, as opposed to like arcade operators like myself and putting them into a machine. And so I probably will still be getting some more, and just because I still have needs for that. I would really like to see any updates that can make it better, particularly with the brightness and contrast. That's the issue I have. The resolution for me is not so much a big issue. I don't know that they could do anything though as far as the native resolution of the panels, as well as the input lag on those in decreasing them, but I guess in some sense it's making me wonder if I should just wait for another model to come along that hopefully can resolve those sorts of issues. But let me know what you think about this debacle, and we'll see you on the next video.